Hi, I'm Carl Bearden, the Executive Director of United for Missouri's Future, and this evening we have Secretary Nick Jordan from Kansas with us, Secretary of Revenue. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Carl. It's good to be here.
Well, you know, Kansas has really started a fire in Missouri. Now, we've been trying to do tax reform in Missouri for a long time. You all actually did it last year, and so you've kind of lit the fires in Missouri, and we appreciate that.
Sure.
So one of the things we want to know is, the battles you went through last year, and then contrast to what you're trying to do this year.
As I've said many, many times, the core debate we're in is government spending grow an economy, or does the private sector grow an economy? And I think that frames the battle that you face. And people who are used to getting the money and the spending side of it are scared to death when you say, well, we're going to change a revenue stream of any kind. And so one of those biggest battles is anybody that's been used to government spending. They don't generally realize that when you cut those taxes, you're going to have more money to help everybody in the state. But more importantly, you're going to have more money in the pocket of the private sector. So you can grow your jobs so families can enjoy a better life.
Right. So every state, even the federal government, has their rent seekers who have been used to getting state, and they really judge the success of a state's economy based on how much a state spends, not on how the economy itself is doing through GDP and so forth.
That's exactly right. That is exactly.
So you all took some major steps last year in doing that, and the Governor Brownback, showed a great deal of leadership. How about your legislative leadership? How important was that?
It's always important. You got to have a team. We had a little bit of a problem in one of our chambers last year, but it ended up okay. We didn't quite get the bill we wanted last year. We got the tax reduction we wanted, but we didn't get some of the pay-fors in the budget. So this year we've had to come back, and we've done a combination of trying to make it work on the budget side, but also do further reduction. The governor was very clear when he ran that he wanted to get to zero. And so we want to keep trying that path. We have a legislature this year that certainly would like to join him in getting there. So the battle is now trying to take care of the budget problems we had last year because we didn't get the pay-fors, but also making sure we still continue to get our income tax reduction when we meet our goals.
So this year you're going back for some more of those pay-fors, which are eliminations of basically tax credits and those sorts of things?
Right, tax credits, deductions. We're trying to take as many of those out as we can. I mean, it's flatter, fairer, simpler tax policy is what we're after. And so we're trying to broaden our base and take some of those deductions, tax credits out, and move forward. And it works well. I mean, it works well with the budget. It works well to growing the economy.
Right. So give us the kind of the 30,000-foot level. You started at what tax rate, and you're moving to what? Give us the
our top rate before we passed the bill last year was 6.45.
And did that top out? When did that start? 6.45 at what?
Well, we got 30,000 married filing jointly and 15,000 on singles. Okay. So 6.45. We lowered that. We actually had two top rates. We folded them both, lowered them to 4.9. Makes us the second lowest income tax in the region. We were second highest before last year. Now we're second lowest. Colorado's the only one lower than we are at this point. And then we took the bottom rate and lowered it from 3.5 to 3 last year. We did expand our standard deductions for single head of households by double. And then on the legislative floor, they decided they wanted to do the same for married filing jointly. So that got increased also. But then the big thing we did was take our small businesses, our LLCs, S-corps, and sole proprietors to zero on non-wage business income. As we all know, 75% of your job growth comes there. We wanted to make sure that our small business people had the capital flow they needed to grow.
Right. So now, Missouri's top rate 6%, so obviously you beat us, but you were already kind of beating us anyway, except on the rate. Ours is 6% on $9,000. Yeah. That was $9,000 set in 1931. Should be $133,000 today. Yeah. So we're a little bit behind that. So if you had some advice for Missouri's legislature, and you heard the presentation about what Missouri's looking at from Senator Cross tonight, what advice would you give?
Well, you just got to get in the battle and fight. I think you got to prove to people and talk to people and do your homework that income tax taxes people's productivity. Right. It's the worst tax as far as if growing an economy or holding back an economy. I think there's a lot of proof in states around the country now. I've talked about South Dakota. Right. South Dakota is a great example. They're booming, probably growing as faster than most states in the country. It's not tourism. It's not weather. Right. It's just plain good tax policy and other things in that state that are causing it to grow. I think using the examples, and obviously Missouri's looking at Kansas, looking at an example, teaming up, working together. proving to people that your education won't fail. We're here to support what are core responsibilities of government. We're not all out to kill everything that's in the budget. We understand there's things government should do in life, and so we're going to fund our education. We think that's an important part of growth too. Sure. As well as you're going to take care of your public safety, obviously, and social service programs. It's a long-term education process. I don't know how else to say it. Right. I mean, it's just I've been on the road for the last 2 or 3 years, meeting with people one-on-one, talking to people one-on-one, getting legislators to get our off session, and talking to them about tax policy and where we want to go and why we want to go there. I've been visiting a lot with the business community and saying, you got to join us in this if you want to benefit. You're going to have to join us in this, and you're going to have to come up here and stand before committees, and you're going to have to contact your legislators at home. It's just the old-fashioned politics that you got to get your grassroots solid and growing and strong, and talking to legislators with their passion. And then you've got to be able to prove the facts and show that it really does work.
Well, that speaks really to the political reality. I mean, when the grassroots are involved, they're engaging their legislators. Their legislators are going to pay more attention. And the political reality, for example, on education funding in any state is that you're just not going to let that die on the vine.
Right. So it's a very key element to the growth of your state. I mean, you have to have a good educated workforce to be successful. That's what the companies come looking for. So it's along with tax policy, it's got to be strong. Now, we're going to have a lot of debates about what that funding level should be, and we'll always have debates about funding levels. Those are healthy debates, but it's important, and I don't think anybody's trying to ignore that.
So now you're competing for businesses, not just with Missouri or Oklahoma or any other states. You're trying to compete nationwide, and that's what your tax policy changes are intended to do.
Absolutely, and we really feel now we've got one of the best small business environments in the country. Most people don't know Texas does have a business tax.
Correct,
And so I've told the governor, I said I'd go down to Texas, Rick Perry's a friend of his, but I'd go down to Texas and say, look, small business, we got a better environment for you in Kansas than Texas has. The way Rick's doing it around the country. But we're beginning to do a lot of marketing and sales through our Department of Commerce in other states now, particularly to small business, saying Kansas is open, we're ready. Zero. What more do you want?
And you've gotten a head start on Missouri, for example. But do you see what Oklahoma's doing, what Missouri is trying to do, or as being helpful to Kansas and to the Midwest region?
I think absolutely. I mean, we've always been competitive on the other side in incentive and tax credits for years. It's kind of nice. Number one, it's much better when you get your tax policy right than having to do all the different incentives and tax credits all the time. It's nice to just get the tax policy right. But the Midwest needs to grow. And if we all can get it right, it's going to benefit all of us. It's going to get more people focused on the Midwest and for it to be a good place to do business, a good place to live. It doesn't hurt for all of us to be doing well in this region. So, we'd love to see Missouri come along. We'd love to see Oklahoma, Nebraska. Governor Heinemann's been trying to do the same thing in Nebraska. And then outside us, you've got North Carolina, obviously, is trying. Bobby Jindal's trying. I mean, we just got everybody over the country. The Republican administrations around the country, and it's not only Republicans, some Democrats, are now catching on to the fact that low income tax rates really create growth.
Well, Oklahoma started under Governor Bearden. So,
exactly.
So you didn't get everything you wanted, obviously, out of last year's bill, but you got enough to move forward. And so how important is it not to be an all or nothing type player, but to incrementally move forward?
It's politics. I mean, you learn a long time ago when you get into the battle, into the political realm, that you're not always going to get what you want. And so you just got to have a plan, and you got to start working that plan and take what you can each step, and hope at the end of the day you get where you want to get.
Right. So you started out with something less than you wanted, and got that last year. This year you're trying to build on that and move it even farther. So incrementalism got us to where we're at today. In some cases where we have bad tax policy, and it's very difficult to dismantle that all overnight.
Exactly. And the incremental steps also prove to the opponents that this will work. And you don't go the whole length, and this just says, okay, it works, and that makes it a lot better. Go for the next step, and then the next step, and the next step.
And so you're already, even though you just got started, you're already disproving some of the opponents' slings and arrows that they threw at you last year, as far as cratering your budget.
Yeah, we haven't seen that yet. We're watching closely January 1st, so we're only 3 months into new tax policy, so we're watching it very, very closely. But at this point, a fiscal year to date, we're about 3.3% in tax revenues above last fiscal year to date. So, you know, we haven't cratered yet.
Right.
We're still moving in a positive direction.
And so do you have a feel yet how much of that's growing January through March so far?
We'll know. We think April will tell us. The way the federal government did all their switching this year and the cliff conversation and all those kind of things just have made this a strange first quarter.
And for everybody. And not
for
just
everybody,
Kansas.
yeah, for everybody. So I don't know that we'll have a true reading in the first quarter exactly, but I have some good indications now. Tax returns are in. We'll have the first quarterly estimates from our small business. We'll have some real indicators coming forward.
All right, so if you had one paragraph, one sentence of advice to Missouri legislators trying to reform taxes and the tax system, what would it be?
Just keep at it. You know, it sounds simple and it sounds kind of standard, but all you can do is keep at it. You know, change in the political world's always difficult.
Right.
And when you're talking about money, it's even more difficult.
Right.
And so you just got to continue to educate and continue to talk, continue to try to build consensus. I found don't leave anybody out.
Right.
Don't ignore anybody. Include everybody in the discussions. You can find sometimes when we're talking about incremental that there's somebody that doesn't necessarily agree with you, but will work with you on a part that'll help get the whole thing done. So it's just the typical political process that you have to go through, and you just got to keep plugging until it comes out right.
Okay, great. Well, we've enjoyed having Kansas Secretary of Revenue Nick Jordan with us tonight. So thank you for sharing what's going on in Kansas, and good luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.